Okay, that should be working now. Assuming you can hear it. All right. Posture. I don't have a whatchamacallit, good sets for that, good things for that yet. Like the view rewards. Maybe I should at some point. Okay, hopefully you can hear me now. I can see the audio levels moving now, so hopefully it should be all right. Anyway, welcome on. I'm going to be doing a little replay review today. I was kind of hoping to stream this later, but it sounds like my schedule's going to be a little tight, so we'll get through this here. Today I have replays from... Where is it? I think it's RubberDucks. Yeah, RubberDucks today. So a couple of replays from them. So let's just get into it. Oops, I don't need to do this for that. All right. Oh, they're playing Akuma. Okay. Yeah, I guess they're playing Akuma. So let's get into the replay review. Look, there we go. And then I gotta open my text here. Cool. Alright. Alright, so it looks like it's Akuma versus a Ken here. They're in it's a platinum set. I did play RubberDuckies Akuma recently. I thought they're doing okay. So let's take a look at what's happening here. I think RubberDuck they do have a bunch of characters in Master, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look. As I just put this guy on blast. Yeah, they have a Bison in Master, right? So pretty sure they have. I thought they had a Honda in Master too, right? So they had a couple characters in Master. Maybe just learn something new here. I didn't ask for any specifics on the replay review, so we're just gonna take a look at it from like a here's what's happening standpoint. So anyway, let's take a look. Shoto Gaming. All right. Using my Ken colors here. Okay, so missed anti-air, right? Well, maybe not. Maybe so. Let's see. Oop. Right, so let's see. The timer is at 6 something, so hopefully it shows up. Cool. Yeah, Zane, let me know if you can see that text under the notes there. I kind of set the font a little small, just so that it shows up. It looks a little small on my preview thing, but I think it probably looks fine at like full screen. Anyway, what I'm gonna say here is that if I go back to this section here, like at the beginning, right? So like walking into this spacing here and going with a poke, a relatively lower committal poke, even though it's a little bit fast, it's a little bit slow, 10 frames, but this is enough time for you to DP, right? So anytime you're playing, even at this level, platinum, diamond level, assume that people are gonna jump, right? Like people jump all the time. Even in master, people will jump, right? So like when you throw a button out like this, right? You're committed to this button for the next 30, 20 something frames, right? So if you look, right, 19 frames here, recovery, 10 frames of startup, and then, 9 frames startup here. Well, sorry, okay, 10 frames startup, 1 overframe overlap for the active frames, right? So, you're committed to this for the next 20-ish frames, right? So, assuming that this hit, right, even if you hit this, Akuma doesn't get a ton of reward from this, right? So, you land this here, right? Like, you don't get a ton of reward. You get a hit here. Maybe on counter hit, if you're close enough, you can get like a stand light kick or something, right? You can get a small conversion here. But realistically, what you're doing here is you're trying to control space, right? So anytime you throw out a poke like this, that is, you're trying to take up space, while this is happening, assuming that you miss it, or you're processing the data here, be ready to anti-air if you can, right? Like if that should be part of your mental stack or checklist when you press buttons like this, right? Because a lot of times what'll happen is exactly this, right? You'll walk into a space where the poke seems to make sense and your opponent will just jump, right? And you can see you could have reacted with a DP here if you're ready, right? You go for parry, which is not a bad option in particular, right? Like, it's better than, I guess, getting hit. But ideally here, as soon as you press this button, like from right here, you press the button, you should be able to recognize that it's a that the opponent jumped by now, right? And be ready to anti-air if you can, right? So that's kind of an important thing when you're trying to take up space as a Shoto especially, right? And we'll see if it happens later on. But when you're playing a Shoto like this and you're trying to poke with something to take up space, be ready to anti-air, right? There's going to be instances where this is going to land punish counter. Like they jump over your button here and like you just can't do anything and you get punish countered. And that is what it is, right? That's how that goes. But if you can, try to be ready to anti-air, right? Like always be ready to anti-air, I think is like the takeaway from this, especially at these levels, like platinum through diamond, always be ready to anti-air. Okay, so D-Rev here, right? I don't think you necessarily need to do a D-Rev here if you don't want to. You could just block this. Ken is minus after this. So unless he goes into target combo, right? You know, even then, right? If he goes into target combo, you can just DI this for free. But there's not a big reason for you to D-Rev here in particular. You could just hold the pressure, right? Because you're not minus, right? So after this happens, you are, right? But here, you parry this. You don't have to spend any meter here, right? So we'll put that in here. No need to spend meter if plus. Right? Like, I mean, if you don't want to deal with this, that's fine. But typically you want to D-Rev in situations where there's a mix-up to be avoided, right? Against this, there's no mix-up here, right? If Ken stops pressing anything, it's not your turn. And even if you wanted to cancel a target combo, there's no gap anymore. So even if he goes into target combo here, like there's no mix-up. Like the only thing that Ken can do from this situation here that is safe is to cancel into like EX Fireball or something, right? So like target combo to EX Fireball or some sort of other move from here, right? But otherwise, it is technically your turn. Like, yeah, this is cancelable, I guess, but like, you know, it's not a big reason for you to spend here. Okay, so let's take a look at the sequence. All right, +3, but too close or too far to throw, right? And then unfortunate throw whiff here. So why did this whiff? Let's take a look. Right? So we were talking about this in the Discord recently, actually. So I'm going to put this as one of the things to look at here. Throw and ball. Right, so in SF6, you can't throw someone in block stun, or sorry, yeah, their characters are throw invulnerable from in block stun and hit stun, right? And they're also throw invulnerable 2 frames after they exit hit stun or block stun. So if you look at the frame meter here, your throw lands, and they're still throw invulnerable here, right? And then yeah, so you missed it by a frame basically. So in this case here, after this crouching media punch drive rush, he's still in block stun and you go for the throw, and that's why this whiffs. So you really gotta, if you're gonna go for this type of thing, you probably have to delay it a little bit. This is more of a lab thing if you're gonna go with this particular option. So, you know, just letting you know why this whiffed, because this would have hit otherwise, right? Like if I delay this a little bit, right? Or that's a lot of bit, but you know what I mean here, right? Right? You can see it there too. Right? I know it kind of goes away there, but yeah, that's just unfortunate, I think. Anyway. Like even the Ken was like, what? Okay. Alright, so jumping from this far. Let's see. After this sequence, the Ken doesn't really do anything. Right? Like this kind of distance for jumping, it's a little bit tough, I think. Like this gives Ken enough time to DP. You're not really you weren't really threatening anything on the ground either. So like if this was the Ken here, he would just be waiting for you to neutral skip him some capacity. Maybe it's a jump, maybe it's drive rush, whatever. But turns out he just waits for the jump from very far away, and he gets DP'd, right? So like what I'm getting at here is that the spacing you decide to jump at should make a difference too, right? So like you can't really jump from this far, right? Because like this distance, so I'll throw this in here. Jumping at far ranges, right? Like this distance here is too far to jump, right? Like even if Ken were to throw a fireball here, like I'll try to, like if you're trying to jump over a fireball. Oh. I think I have the timing a little off. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry. Because we want you to jump, right? So Ken lands. We'll do this. Right. For Ken in particular, maybe it's fine. Right? You probably would have landed a punish counter hit there. But I feel like this is still a distance where, like, I feel like as you get higher in level, it's going to be difficult to beat a character that has a better fireball than that, right? So maybe against Ken is probably fine, but you do have to be careful, I think, here. Because if the Ken, and I'll say this too, if the Ken doesn't seem interested in throwing fireballs, maybe not jump here. But I still think this is kind of far, right? So like if I go to this spot here, well, maybe it's fine. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you're okay here. And it might be because the Ken jumped. So you're already moving forward, right? So I wonder if we do this instead. Oh, okay. This is actually a good read. I take it back. I think this is fine, actually. If you had jumped, if you're reading a fireball here after this, yeah, I guess if you're reading fireball here, the extended hitbox probably would have hit. If the Ken decides to do nothing, right, then of course you can get anti-air, which is what happens. But I think from this range here, maybe you're actually okay to throw a fireball because the Ken had to neutral jump your fireball here. And that puts it at a space where you could jump if they decide to throw a fireball right now, like from right here. Because you saw what happened, right? I tried to throw a fireball and like you landed in front of me. So I think the extended hurt box would have, gotten hit by like a button here. So anyway. So I'd say back what I said there. I think if you're reading fireball, that's fine. I thought this was a little too far. I also think that Ken's fireball is probably probably one you can do this against. Against like an Akuma fireball, I think it recovers. It might recover a little bit faster there, especially after initial jump. So anyway. Okay. I'm going to add this one here again. Right. Especially now, right, in this situation here. Like, there's very little reason to spend meter. I think the missed anti-air is one thing. The parry is okay, right, because you don't lose anything, you gain some meter back. But the D-rev after, probably not what you want to do here, right? And mostly because you're going to burn out for it. Now, you end the pressure, and that's fine, I guess. But you're burned out now, right? So, whereas if you had just blocked, like, continue parrying here. Right? Like, again, we don't know if the Ken's going to cancel into something, into, like, Jinrai or whatever. Or do something else after that. But I think that burning out for a D-rev is typically not what you want to do, right? Like, that's probably not going to be great in the long run here. So let's take a look. I mean, again, I don't know if this is going to work out for you longer term, but in this particular instance, I think that going for a D-rev here with your meter management, meter being what it is, probably not going to work out well, right? You're going to burn out. Now you're burned out against Ken, right, with no meter. Then go to zoning. Good. All right. So the Ken is clearly anti-air to you like twice now, right? So you went for a jump here. Right. Okay. Wake up sweep. I like it. So what did the Ken do? He went for like a meaty button. And he missed his meaty. So this is unfortunate for the Ken. I think wake up sweep is a little bit of a hard read here on like a shimmy. I don't know what the Ken has been doing to you, if anything, so far, but wake up sweep. I mean, it worked here, so I guess it's okay, but this is typically not great, right? If they walk up and blocked or did anything, or their meaty was timed correctly, you get counter hit out of this, right? So, right, so that same thing we were talking about here. Like this happened the second time, right? Or third time in this case, right? So I'll add it again. 19. 7. Right. Press the button. You're ready to anti, right? I mean, even if you get punish counter hit here, right, then there's nothing you can do. But at least try, right? Because this is counter hit, so that means you could have gone a DP or something, right? You tried to... I guess this would have been a block into a delay tech is what I'm guessing you're trying to do here. But you get counter hit on the throw, right? You delay tech against the jump in, and like you get hit like this, right? So again, if it's counter hit here, that suggests you could have DP'd this, right? So, you know, you have enough frames here, I think, for the DP. So, right now you got to deal with cannon and Jinrai pressure. Oh, he didn't answer you there, huh? Okay, mistake. Didn't punish you too hard. So okay, so it worked out, right? You didn't get punished too hard here by the Ken, right? And your burnout. So I guess it's okay. You did take a couple of hits, but the Ken didn't really convert right into anything in particular. So, you know. All right, 4 punish, right? So need DP punish, right? Should have been a bigger punish than that, right? Right. Oh. Huh? Oh, is that what's coming out already? Hold on. Right? Or into whatever combo you want, right? But you need a bigger punish than that. Even like a stand heavy punch by itself, right? Stand heavy punch medium Tatsu would have been better. I think punish counter throws are not great, generally speaking, outside of like parry, outside of grabbing a parry, right? It's you only 2,000 damage versus even my kind of crappy combo there only did already 3,500, right? So right, so here I'll leave that in this as the same note here. But from this situation here, if you're going to cash out like that, and maybe this is just because you're learning the character, right? Maybe it wasn't clear that this wouldn't kill. It's unfortunate, but if you weren't really sure, you know, you could always end in a level 1 here, right? So, like, you would just go into something like, right, from here, light Tatsu, level 1, should have killed. And so they try to preserve your bar, which is not a bad option here, right? But you have to be sure, right? Ooh, get reversal here. And you're burned out, right? So... oh, okay. Right, so if you had killed in that route, like the routing you did earlier, you should have killed. But you didn't. And it's okay, right? I mean, you're learning the character, so it is what it is. But that would be something to work through. Like punish counters there. Because he could have killed on that punish counter, right? So. Right. Again, fireball, miss anti-air, right? So I'm going to add that here as well. 22, 35. And again, no need to derev here, right? Alright, so a matchup specific thing here is I remember Ken is -5 after stand light kick. So I'll add that here as a matchup thing, I guess. Punish -5 situations, right? Because with Akuma in particular, and most Shotos in general, right? They have really good 5-frame normals a lot of the time. So if I go you, right? Right? Punish them for that. In whatever capacity makes sense, right? Oop. Right? So like 5-frame situations, when you're +5 in like that, you need to punish those, right? Because even like you'd be surprised at how far you can actually punish Ken stand heavy kick and stand light kick if he, or stand medium kick, when he does that, right? If he misspaces it, a lot of the Shotos anyway can punish that, and characters like Ed too, right? Anyone with a good 5-framer can punish that, so make sure you are doing that. Okay. Don't mind the zoning so far. Missed anti-air. Okay, same situation again, right? I think it might just be a habit of yours. Right. He didn't believe. Didn't believe that the hit landed there. I guess it's fine. Oh, that's an unfortunate missed opportunity, but that's okay, right? Because you were jumping anyway. And then for some reason the Ken decides to ODDP here. And then you catch the back end of it. It's fine. So this is actually pretty good right here, right? I want to highlight this. So at the situation you were at right here, after the parry happens, right? You're at both at ranges where it's a little uncomfortable. Like the Ken tries to walk up for a throw, and you decide to mash jab. So recognizing this space and recognizing the walk up is pretty good, I think, right? That was a good recognition here. Now, whether you're mashing jab because he thought he was coming for a throw and he thought this wouldn't work is fine. But either way, recognizing the space that this was happening, that was good, right? Good recognition. Because if you didn't do anything, you'd get thrown here, right? So, okay, no combo, it's okay. Ooh. Right, good stuff, right? So the key highlight I think I want to talk about here is that you were choosing good spacing for your fireballs, right? So like after this happens, you get a throw. You go throw an OD fireball here, which is fine, right? He has to hold that, right? Like if you look, fireball comes out, right? This is a meaty, basically, right? So he has to hold that. That's good. Pushes it back and allows you to throw another fireball, right? So this is fine spacing for these fireballs. In fact, you would have gotten him here had you thrown an OD, but you know, it is what it is. Like, or we would have tied it here. But it's hard to throw an OD in that situation because you don't have any more meter, right? So clearly Ken burned out for that. And I always find, so this is an interesting thing, and I think this happens a lot. Oops. Is that people do this kind of big sweeping movement, right? Like moving all the way forward, all the way back, right? Like this. So let me add this here. I'll say footsies, right? So like at these ranges here, especially from this far away, you're not really threatening anything, right? Like a fireball maybe, but it's getting a little bit too close to that fireball like we were talking about earlier, where I thought it was too far, but it actually is fine to throw one here. What makes it tough here is that nothing in either of your arsenals will really reach from here, right? Like from this distance. So then you guys make this big sweeping movement into this section here, right? So like, and then you move back, right? So you're both obviously trying to bait the other one into pressing a button here, right? The part that makes this hard is that both of you at this point, from what I can tell, don't really have like the spacing down yet, right? Meaning, you know, do you know if the standing, like from right here, like would either of your buttons reach, right? Maybe Akuma stand heavy kick would reach, but would Ken stand heavy kick reach, right? Stand heavy punch, right? Like what options are you guys both threatening from this distance, right? So like if you try to do this against better players, they just won't do anything. Like they won't press anything because you're not threatening anything, right? from here, even if Akuma goes in to stand heavy kick, it's so far away that most players will just crouch block and then punish you on the whiff, right? Like the second hit whiff. So something you can probably train later on if you wanted to take this character further is to really do the don't whiff drill, right? So making sure that you are able to land buttons at the tip of the ranges and understand when and where your buttons are threatening, right? Again, the only reason I bring this up is because I think a lot of players see stuff like this happening at a high level. Like this right here. Right? Like that section, that little bit. A lot of players see this happening at a high level and think they're playing footsies, but in reality, since they're not really threatening ranges a lot of the time, and they're not really trying to bait anything, you're really just moving back and forth, right? Like there's no real reason to do that in particular. And then you both jump anyway, right? So it's like you're trying to bait each other into doing something, and then you guys both jump. So again, I just wanted to highlight this because I think players conflate this type of stuff with like the quote unquote footsies stuff, and like that's not quite what is happening at a higher level, right? So just keep that in mind. Like you don't necessarily have to do the whole, oh, I'm gonna move back and forth and wiggle back and forth and stuff, right? Like you could just as easily walk forward and plant and wait for your opponent to do something, and if they're not doing anything, then you can change what you're doing, right? So right, burned out, and you take it anyway, right? So good stuff here on the jump in. Good timing for that. They weren't ready. It's good stuff. Okay, I think it was a missed drive rush. That's okay. Oh, okay. Sure. I will say that after this, the counter hit from Ken leaves him plus. It should leave him plus to some extent, I think, here. +5. Right? So if he had gone for throw immediately, I think this might. No, it should land actually. Let's see. Right? So if he gone for throw immediately there, it whiffs. So he had to delay it a little bit. But he is +5 in that situation, right? So you do have to hold that mix up. Oh, did you try to delay tech? Oh, you just took the throw. So taking the throw is actually fine. I don't mind that. Okay. Reversal. Not a bad option. Meter's a little low here after that drive rush, but you do have a reversal in the tank here. And if you thought he was going to go for meaty, this is fine. What I will say is that if you wanted to preserve your meter here, right, from right here, so I'll add this here. Right, from this situation, if you really wanted to preserve meter, and you were reading that he's going to do some sort of meaty, like this is your read, is that they're gonna do a meaty of some kind, you could super, right? Level 3, level 1, even level 2, I think for Akuma, like all those things are options for you, right? It's round 3, and to get value out of, you want to get value out of this meter here, right? So if you're gonna reversal in this situation, you've already committed to what's gonna happen afterwards, right? So just super, right? That will save your meter. So like if you actually went for super here. Level 1 the goat here, I think. I mean, you could level 1. I have no issue with that, right? You could also level 3. Either of those things would work, right? So if you do the level 1 here, let's take a look, right? So from here, right? So if we look at the meter, right? Take note of where the meter is, right below 3 bars, right? Right? You gain a bar, like, you know, half a bar basically, right? Your drive meter is now in okay shape, and you're able to, you know, you get them off of you basically, right? Also, Halo, what's good? Thanks for tuning in. But you can also do something like this, right? Right? And now look at your meter, right? You've gotten basically full value out of this. You got all 4,000 damage out of your super, right? So that's good too, and your meter is in better shape, right? So it really just depends on, you know, how much of this you want to get back into the game situation, right? You also get level 3 by around, which is level 1. Yeah, that's true too, right? So if you level 1 here, you get some of that meter back. You won't be at this health of drive gauge. It'll be a little less. You also won't deal 4,000 damage, right? You'll deal whatever it ends up being for a level 1, unscaled level 1. It was at 2,000 something damage or whatever it is. But you do have a chance of getting... You only use 1 bar of super, right? And it's relatively early in the round from here, right? So like 90 seconds in, you'll get level 3 by then. And then you can do the whole thing over again, right? So if it was me, personally, if I was playing Akuma, I think a level 1 here would have made more sense, right? Because you get some meter back. I could play around with trying to get more of that meter back, because you send them further away when you level 1 also, right? So you get some of the meter back, you play neutral again, whatever, right? And again, like kind of like Halo was saying here, is you'll get level 3 by the end of the round when it becomes relevant again, right? Or you just dominate them and win, right? Whatever. But, you build super so fast here. But this, you don't, right? So consider using super in situations where you've already committed to the reversal, right? You don't lose anything by doing that because you've already committed to it, right? Like in your head, you've already made the decision that if this gets blocked, I'm going to die, basically, right? So, because, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Like if you had level 1 here or whatever and they block it, you still take the same damage, right? So, all right. Okay, let me add that here to 34, 30, right? Better punishes here, right? If there's a side switch you wanted to do against Ken in particular, you're already blocked, but you can walk under this, right? Right, something like that if you wanted to. I mean, that's not exactly optimal in terms of like damage because you're not getting the OD fist, or sorry, the heavy fist, but you'll get side switch and positioning, right? So even just something like that would work. So something like this. Well, obviously don't burn out. Maybe don't do that route, all right? But you could get something like this. Right? 3,000 damage, side switch, Oki, all the things you want, right? Out of that. So, better DP punishes can make a huge difference, right? Because that's a third of someone's health, 30%, right? That's a lot. Versus what you actually did do. Versus that, right? Less meter gain overall, right? I mean, you still get kind of the Oki situation from a hard knockdown of the throw, but you do want to deal a little more damage in this if you can, right? That was an opportunity to do so. The teleport's interesting. Although I guess it worked because they woke up with DI. Yeah. So from this distance here, I feel like you should be throwing light fireballs. If you can. Like, if you're just going to throw it out. Mostly because the recovery is sooner, right? So, you throw a heavy here, and you get punish countered, right? But if I threw that light, will you still get punish countered? Maybe. Yeah, so that was a good jump timing on his part to get you there. So, be careful about those fireballs. If you get predictable and get red, that's what happens, right? So, it is what it is, I think. Yeah, good read on his part. Okay, kind of a crappy combo, burns out for that. And now you're neutral, right? So you're in kind of control of the round here, so let's see what happens. That is a fair option. That's a good option. Okay, I think that's just an Akuma routing thing. You could get pretty big value from 1 bar here if you wanted to do that, right? I think the combo looks something like... Right. Oh, I messed up. Right, and then light DP should connect into super. How come I can't DP? right? And then you would level 3 from there, right? So anyway, could that have killed? Maybe. But you need a better punish there, right? So I'll put that in there at, I don't know, was that 37, 30 or something like that? Anyway. That's just a combo optimization thing. Don't worry about it too much. You're obviously still learning the character, right? So, but if you were going to do this, right, into super, I would just do, if you're really going to use super here, you can just slip like this too, right? Oh. Just like stand heavy punch into level 3, if you wanted to do that. Right, if you're just going to do something like that, right? Because typically that ends up being the better option, just because there's no scaling, right? And you don't burn out for it. So anyway. Each fist first and go to super no meter. I guess the scaling is, there's not a lot of scaling on a fist, huh? Since the DI is already there. So at any rate, not burning out is the main thing, right? Don't spend meter here if you don't have to get away. Because like you could have gotten the same, like if you look at what I did on both of those options, one could kill if you land level 3 there. The other one will deal almost the same amount of damage, but not burn you out, right? So now you're both burned out. He has CA. Your meter will probably come back sooner than his, but we'll see. So clearly Ken is trying to make a read. Oh, come on. You lose this? Just kidding. You probably get C. He won this. What? All right. Did I misread the... Okay. I must have looked at this wrong and thought you lost this. Okay, so you won that. But yeah. Overall fine, right? At the end, the Ken made a few mistakes where you were able to capitalize, like that light tots or whatever, and then you ended up doing a jab punish, but it worked. But you can see some of the notes I listed in there, right? So you can see like there are some opportunities where you could have killed sooner, or you don't have to take the interaction that you don't want, or you could have preserved meter by doing something else, right? So far, it's fine for like this level. I do think if you want to take the character further, there's some labbing you'll have to do, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, depending on how you feel about labbing. Alright, you perfected this one, so I guess we'll review and see what more things you did well. Let's take a look. Okay. Ooh. Alright, Miss Anti-Air is okay. Alright, so you get to take a punish counter here, right? Oh, wait, no, he misses it. Yeah, here you'd be careful, right? If you're going to use this forward heavy punch, you should confirm this, right? On hit. If I'm not mistaken, this is actually pretty a pretty generous confirm overall. Let me take a look to make sure I'm not lying to you here. Super combo, stand heavy punch is like 19 frames or something. Oh, no, sorry. Forward punch, right? Not the stand heavy punch. HP. Yeah, 20 frame confirm window and turret combo, right? So if you're going to use this button or use it this way, where you go for the turret combo here, it could just be you were mashing it and it's kind of what happened here, but you should be confirming this, right? So press it once, see if it hit or not, right? Ken should have punished you pretty hard here, but he doesn't. Oh, what happened there? Okay, so after this, Ken is plus now, right? So if you wanted the D-Rev, now would have been the time to do it, right? Instead, you try to mash against this, or you're trying to press something, and it's a little late here. And Ken is plus here, right? So you can't really mash in this situation. So I'll put here. And your minus after drive rush. Or I guess in general. I'll put drive rush there just so it shows up, but in general. You really can't press here, right? Because you're -2. And the Ken goes for 6 frame move here. So maybe you could have gotten a trade, right? So normally what Kens would do here is they'll press stand medium punch a second time, right? Because that will beat any 4-framer. Ken gets a little greedy here with this 6-framer. So if you had matched this, I think it would have actually traded. Right? So, like, is that great for you? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if there's a trade combo that can come out of that. Oh. Ken may be able to get a trade combo. Maybe on a medium, probably not. And the trade maybe is better in that case if he can't get a trade combo. But I think that most Kens, like, when they do that particular move, the stand medium punch from Drive Rush, they'll probably press that medium punch again, right? So if Ken goes for the 5-framer instead, you'll get counter hit, right? And then he gets a little confirm after that, right? Stand like kick into DP or even another target combo, right? So matching that +2 situation, or sorry, minus situation, generally not a good thing at first, right? If the Ken is consistently going for these kind of greedier buttons, like the 6-frame crouching medium punch, or goes for something bigger, then challenging with a jab might make sense. But this is the first time I think I've seen the Ken go for some sort of plus frame, like pressure and plus frames, right? At least that I stopped enough to talk about, right? So you got to be careful there. Okay, combo here. All right, so you can't quite jump here. Well, maybe you can. You just got hit, right? So you're -3 here. Ken just goes for the button, and you get hit while jumping, right? So at this distance here, after you just gotten hit, you are minus, right? So just blocking is probably fine. It works out because the Ken burns himself out because you flip out of the Drive Rush cancel, I guess. But it's, it just worked out that way, I guess. It is kind of funny that it happened, but ideally you just block that, right? Realistically speaking, most of the time you should just block that. Fine response, DI, in case you press something, it's probably fine. Okay. So walk-up throw here is fine, mostly because the Ken is afraid to press, right? So if your opponent is not pressing and challenging your walk-ups, then going for walk-up throw is fine here, right? Again, Ken's burned out, right? So he can't really challenge a lot of this stuff because he's minus on everything you do, right? But if the Ken is like pressing buttons after this, taking the turn back or whatever, you do have to be careful, right? Walk-up throw isn't always the best option here. All right, it's fine. So after this, not a big compelling reason to jump, right? So I'm going to put that here. No need to apply jump pressure. Oh, sorry, I should word that better. No need to apply pressure with jump. Right? So like if you had just did this and waited right here, parked under the timer and waited, right? Like you just stand here and like try to control them in the corner. Easy anti-air every day, all day, right? Like from right here, or even if I'm pressuring with forward medium kick. Oop, that's a little bit like that. Right? So I think that in this position here, you have them burned out and you have them like no meter or anything like that. This is kind of a big situation, or a very scary situation for Ken here, right? So I think you could just park, wait for them to make the mistake, because once you do this, right? This DI is free, right? Oh, why is that? Well, it would have been DI if my button is working. Well, hold on. Right? Obviously, I missed it there. But you get the idea, right? Is that at that point, if you did a meaty DI, that's checkmate in that situation in terms of the Ken can't do anything to avoid that stun, right? Would it have made sense to do so that early? Maybe, maybe not. But the idea is you missed that opportunity to do so by being aggressive in that situation, overextending, if you will, right? So you don't need to overextend in that situation. You could just as easily control the corner from here by standing there, right? And letting them come to you, because they have to make a decision, right? Like if you're just standing here kind of poking them with like forward medium kicks and things of that nature, they have to try to take a risk to get out, whether that mean jumping or like going for hard read of some kind, whatever the case may be. They don't have meter and they don't have super, so like, you know, they're kind of trapped in this. So the idea here would be to maximize the amount of damage you do before they get meter, and then hit them with a DI, a meaty DI, right? Now this works out, right? So the Ken gets kind of aggressive here after they land the air-to-air and gets DI'd for their trouble, right? So... Right. So I think this is fine for you to do here. I would go for a meterless one though if you had, though. Like just heavy fist into like Tatsu or something. You don't necessarily need to spend because you're going to burn out, right? Because right after this happens, this stun happens, you're going to burn out for this and they're going to get all their meter back, right? Hold on 1 sec here. Something's up with my my left bumper gets set to left trigger. Interesting. I don't know why that happens sometimes. If anyone knows why, sometimes my one of my triggers gets set as a button, or a button is set as a trigger, and that's why that kick was coming out. So anyway, right. So obviously here the Ken misses their delay tech and gets clipped, right? You can see it here. They missed it. Okay. Ken's completely defensive here in the corner. So good job so far. All right, so it worked out. You were able to control the corner here, even though you were burned out. And it was fine because you won, right? Like the Ken doesn't really work their way out in a stable-ish way, and they kind of make a hard read right here after this throw. So, you know, they die for this. But you could have done the same thing with way less risk overall, right? Like you could have still had meter. They could have still been burned out. You could have did a little more damage, a little more chip, and then stump them, right? And still have meter. So now at this level, it's probably fine because people are going to make mistakes like this where they just ODDP, like YOLO it. But as you move up, like people will be able to defend this better and pressure you more because they have meter and you don't, right? So they'll be able to apply some pressure to you, maybe get a throw or a side switch of some kind, and then now all of a sudden you're in trouble, right? So, you know, I think we see the end of this, right? So, right. Okay, so what were they doing there? They decided to not do anything. They didn't just took the throw. Okay, anti-air. That same thing again, right? We talk about it a bunch. 50, 40. Right? Again, when you're plus, right? After that stand medium punch, you're going to be +2, right, by itself. So there's not a big compelling reason to derev there. All right, so again, right? Talk about meterless, right? You could just go for heavy fist into, I think it looks, well, there's better combo routes, right? Heavy fist into back heavy kick, light fireball, jar rush, right? 1 bar, puts you in a better position overall. Burning out for this though with the DRC is typically not, right? So I'll add this to like the where is it? Need a DP punish here. I'll add it here. So 5144. Good low meter option. Right? So something like this, I think. Right? This kills them. Well, it'd be pretty close, I think. Oh, shit. Nerf Akuma, guys. What the hell? That was 1 bar? 5,700 damage for 1 bar on that, right? So, something like that, right? Like, you could have won the game from that situation. But anyway. Instead, because you went for this route, right? You kind of burn out for it. You didn't control the corner here, but you burned out, right? So... Well, how'd they even get hit here? What happened? They're just holding back. Clip low. All right. Light DP into level 3. And then delay tech. And excuse me, sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. So what I'll say here is that this whole sequence... So first thing is that from right here, this is game over, right? Like you saw the combo I did ended up killing Ken, right? The 1-bar combo that I did go to the corner. Or if you go into just like something like... Oh, I mean, you could have killed him here, right? So this is one thing. Right, it's highest scaled combo for 3 bars. But again, you're learning the character, so I'm not going to be too mad about that in particular. You just have to pick a combo here. So from right here, though, right, you should have level 1'd here, right? Or, sorry, level 3 if you can, right? So... Right, so that's another route there. And then from here, too, right? So you land this hit. But because you didn't have Drive Rush, you weren't able to cancel that. But remember, after this lands, right, Akuma can get the Crouching Heavy Punch, right? And that kills, right? And you would be able to cancel this into the Heavy Fist, right? Which would give you a juggle into level 1 or level 3, right? You would do the Heavy Fist, Heavy Fist directly into level 3, or Heavy Fist DP level 3, whatever, right? So there would have been options there. So all of that really just comes down to like being able to cash out correctly. Obviously you're at master level, right? So you know that, and that's probably just because you're learning the character. But overall in this particular round though, if I had to point out any particular mistakes, what it really comes down to is meter management, right? So add this here. 54, 50. Right. Alright, so that I don't mind. OD Fireball is fine from the air. That OD Fireball was okay, I guess. But from right here, right, you've used a lot of meter so far, and your only reward for it so far is this this command grab here, right? So like using that there is fine. Maybe this one doesn't make a ton of sense. Maybe it does, like putting yourself in this situation. But then from here, you can't really drive rush, right? Like we shouldn't be drive rushing in particular. Now, of course, this works because Ken wasn't ready. But like this puts you at a really bad meter deficit. So you got to be careful there. Right, the spending there, like we talked about, right, puts you again at 1 bar. Zoning has been fine. Right, and then here's the critical situation, right? Right, so really just meter management in general. We saw that through the other game, or the other 3 rounds we looked at. Meter management is really important with a character like Akuma, because without meter, a lot of your extensions don't really work anymore. Like you're not able to drive rush extend, you're not able to do like OD fist or anything of that nature, nor are you able to do the extension I looked at, right? So the extension from here, where you do the extension with the 1 bar extension with the fireball, right? So you juggle the fireball and single drive rush. Like none of those things work anymore, right? When you add a meter, you also don't, you don't have the same cancel ability, right? Like you can't just buffer stand heavy punch into drive rush cancel anymore. So if the Ken was at a higher level and you burned out for that, now of course from here you should be dead, obviously. But if you were burned out from this situation here, a higher level Ken may be able to take advantage of this situation from you, right? Everything you do, everything you block is now plus, right? You have to hold all the mixed. Ken with Jinrai is kind of absurd. Bait you into trading super, and that's it, right? So yeah, I think that would be the other takeaway from this, is that it's just your meter management. Now obviously you win here because Ken makes a couple of defensive errors, right? So first, they're not blocking correctly, right? They're backing up for some reason, so they need to be blocking low, right? Like this whole conversion doesn't do anything. You're not able to get this conversion if they're blocking correctly, right? You get the light string into maybe a Hadouken or whatever, or light fist or whatever you want to do to keep yourself safe and plus, right? From here, you probably could have again converted into level 3. And then from here, recognizing that for the punish counter, jump heavy kick or jump in, you do get crouching heavy punch, right? So from here, and then the Ken actually, I look, they delay tech, right? Oh, they're just blocking. and they don't challenge this, right? So again, like the Ken made a couple of defensive errors in the corner here. That's just what it is. But the idea is that none of these things happen if you kill them properly from right here, right? So if you kill them from here, you don't have to guess anymore, right? Game's over, right? So, yeah, I'll add that. Yeah, basically that'll just be part of like the section up here talking about the proper DP punishes and lower meter options, right? It's just again, trying not to burn out when it's not needed, and spending meter when it's not needed, right? So, yeah. Otherwise, I mean, you played this pretty well overall, given the level of level that it's at. Again, obviously, you're a master level player, so you understand most of these concepts already. I think it's just like you learning Akuma in particular. And we talked about the Akuma specific stuff, right? There are better combo routes to take that use less meter, and you're actually able to like kill them in certain situations, right? So, again, like overall, you won the set. So that's fine and great. I do think again that there are some situations, and we look in the notes where you could be doing better, right? Mostly cleaning up anti-airs and meter management, right? So just those two general things. And I feel like some of the things we talked about here, so like punishing, like the DP punish being better, using super to reversal, right? Those kind of fall into meter management in general, right? So like when this happens here, and I'll note this here for meter management, right? So right here, right, at this situation right here, you recognize that you've blocked an OD move, right? So this is very punishable, and you should be thinking about what combo route you want to take. So right when this happens, take stock, right? I have this much meter, I have this much super, and my opponent has this much life, right? The first question you should ask yourself generally in this situation is, do I have enough resources to kill them with what I currently have? If I cash out with everything I have or will have, right? Because at this point, you should know that your next hit is going to build level 3, right? Right? By the end of this, you get level 3. Even if you weren't sure that you'd get it by this point, the next hit you do will build enough meter, right? Because you're at this point already, right? So you know you have level 3, you have one, and you have this much meter, right? Can I kill them from here or not? And if the answer is yes, you do it, right? And we just saw how you can do that, right? In a situation where you could cash out that way. And if not, that's when you realize, like, okay, how much damage should I do? How much meter should I spend on all those questions, right? So, like, should I use level 3 here or not? Should I drivers cancel to burn out? Probably not. Should I use 1 meter, 1 bar, 2 bar? Like, what kind of combo should I do from here? And what's the situation going to be after, right? So I'm mid-screen here. I just blocked this. What can I do, and what makes sense for me to do from this situation given my resources, right? If I can kill them, I kill them. If I can't kill them, then I need to spend an appropriate amount to punish them correctly for this. You should deal at least 3,000 damage for a punish counter like this, right? At minimum, in my opinion, right? Like meterless or whatever, should deal at least 3,000 damage if you can, right? I think Akuma has routes so you can do that. If not, and from there, you decide, right? Like, do I want to spend some meter to get better Oki? Do I want to cash out my level 3 here to put me in a situation where they have to guess for game or like something like that, right? Like, that's what should be happening. Again, obviously, you're learning the character, so this is something that you have to work through. But that said, like, this is something that I think everyone does, right? Even if subconscious at some point, right? So I think for most players at Master and above, like, this just happens, right? You're like, okay, I could kill them from here, so I'm going to do it, right? So that's what I would add to that, right? So otherwise, this was, like, I think a perfect example of, like, this level, like from the opponent here. Now, obviously, you're at master level, right, in terms of like your overall gameplay. So the things you were cleaning up here is really just, I think, some of its unfamiliarity with the character. But as far as what the Ken was doing here, I think this is pretty indicative of like platinum to diamond gameplay, right? You can kind of see there's not a lot of neutral being played. A lot of it's neutral skips or whatever. There's not a lot of like trying to obtain space with normals or trying to maintain space with fireballs or anti-airing. A lot of it ends up being just kind of jumps, right? We're standing at 3/4 screen, both waiting for something. I'm kind of surprised I didn't see one Dragon Lash out of this Ken, so it's interesting. And maybe they're learning the character too, I don't know. But you can see there's not a lot of like walk forward, right? It's a lot of jumps, a lot of that stuff. So for anyone watching and is curious about this, and if this is at this level, if you focus mostly on stopping these kind of neutral skips, like a jump is kind of a neutral skip, right? If you focus on checking all of these options from your opponent, you'll probably win more often than lose, because most people at these ranks can't really play the grounded neutral game, right? Their spacing is not like good enough to do that yet. They're not ready to they're not comfortable enough using their normals to take up space, or the concepts of that isn't there yet, right? Like, why would I do any of those things when Dragon Lash has been winning me games, right? Now, obviously, this Ken doesn't do that, but they did do a run Tatsu earlier, which was kind of cool. But at this level, like these levels here, when you see players at this rank or not, and if you are at this rank yourself, this really becomes what you want to focus on, right? Like making sure you can anti-air jumps, making sure you can check neutral skips like Dragon Lash, or like other skips like, Bison Scissors or Honda Headbutt, Blanca Ball, like those things. Make sure you know the counters to those things or can check them. And make sure you block on Wake Up, right? So you see here, like, the Ken kills himself because they refuse to block on Wake Up, right? Or in the case of this, right? Doesn't want to block, right? Blocking incorrectly. And then doesn't block it again, right? So this one I don't fault as much here, because the throw might kill them, so they do have to make a decision here defensively. But if they were to just block here, like normally speaking, like in other situation, if they were to just block here, this is an easy anti-air, right? Now, of course, in this situation here, this is a little bit scary. You do have to make a decision here. They decide to delay tech, right? If I was them, I think if you were going to take a risk here, I think I might have reversaled, because you're going to lose anyway, right? Level 1 here. Still loses to the neutral jump, right? ODDP 2, right? Technically. I think if they mash DP here and they burned out for it, right, still loses because of the way that Ken's DP is, right? The neutral jump, the first DP of the two will whiff. Going for level 1 here probably would also whiff. So if they made that decision, that's probably what I would have done, is go for a super, actually. And you're still going to lose, but that would have been, if you're going to take a risk at that point, you're going to lose either way, right? So you might as well try to get out of the situation. But yeah, but if you look at the situations before that, though, no, right? Again, not a lot of neutral being played, even on Ducky's side here too, right? Because they're learning the character. So heavy DP gets through that, just walking and blocking, allowing your opponent to get back to fireball space, right? Like, these things you do have to learn how to deal with. But again, if you just focus on walking forward, parrying fireballs, getting into a space where they can't really throw fireballs, and then anti-airing jumps, like, you go pretty far, right? And then checking their drive rush options, right? Now here is actually kind of tough, right? So like from here, just want to highlight this real quick. So from this distance, Ducky goes for a drive rush, right? Right. Right. So if the Ken was trying to react to a drive rush from there, I think they would have had an opportunity to do so, right? So, right. So if I do this, right, or even backdash, right? So, this is kind of a higher risk thing, but the Ken wasn't ready for it, obviously. So, but it is something where, like, as you get better at the game, checking drive rush becomes kind of important. And then, people will stop doing it because you can check the drive rush, right? So, anyway, I think that's all I really want to talk about here. I think you played a decent set here. You're able to take advantage of the Ken's mistakes and kill them for it. I really think that, if you were to clean up some of the combo routing and the meter expenditure in terms of your Akuma like gameplay, I think you'd probably get into master pretty quick, right? I do think that you probably do need to learn how to use more of Akuma's buttons in terms of taking up space. But this is, I think, a very different character than you're used to, right? Because I think you have Bison and Honda, and this is your first Shoto. So again, I wasn't expecting like stellar, like, oh, I'm immediately going to play at a master level for a new character, because I struggle with that myself. Like, when I pick up a new character, it takes me a long time to learn how to play them. But those are the things I would focus on, right? Like the Shoto gaming stuff, making sure you can use your normals to take up space. I think you do a good job of throwing fireballs, throw air fireballs and stuff to take up space that way. But yeah, otherwise combo routing needs to be better, and meter expenditure, meter management in general should be better. And yeah, that's really all I'd want to talk about there. So hopefully that was helpful for you. I think that's the 2 games that you sent me, so we'll call that there. But thank you guys for watching. I know this is a little bit of these replay review streams are kind of random in terms of when they happen, but I do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys want a replay review like this for yourself, take a look at the Discord. Fat Rise Discord, under Level Up, the Sit Down and Shut Up, there's a queue for a replay review. You can put your name down and I'll ping you. It's kind of random. I'll try to get it to you within a couple of days. If you look for a replay, if you ask for a replay review, I'll try to get it to you a couple of days. And then as usual, if you'll talk about, Fight Rise, all this is through Fight Rise Discord. If you want training sessions, take a look at the Discord. They do One Fight Stand series for tournaments bi-weekly if you're interested in that. They also do Big League KO, which is a league format, which is in postseason now. Urge to Fight, community showcase events, right? So again, if any of these things sound interesting to you, take a look at the Discords listed there. Also plug Newbie Fight Club. Newbie Fight Club is for newer players getting to fighting games. They hold lobby nights Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They do tournaments I think it's every 2 weeks, something like that. And they also do Modern Monthly. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I don't really have too much else to talk about for that. Oh, the notes stay on the screen. Cool. So once I upload this to YouTube, I'll have the notes listed there. Hopefully the notes were in a better position. I'm still trying to figure out the format, so if anyone has any suggestions on how these type of replay reviews should go, please let me know. I'm active on both these Discords, so just reach out and let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good afternoon.